Hey folks, in this video I'm going to teach you about merging data sets. Merging is used when you want to join two data sets together in some way to make one data set. So for this I'm going to use this simple model here using some of our baseball data. I have the master data, which has records, one for each player. It just tells things like birth year, where they're born, that sort of thing, when they died. I then have salary data. An important thing to note here is that the salary data is not one per player, it's one per recorded salary for each player. So one player could have no salaries recorded or many salaries recorded. And if you note before we get started, they both have a player ID field. That will be important. So if I connect my merge node and then open up the merge node toolbox, I see a bunch of options here. The first things we want to make sure of is that we have both of our inputs selected. One is input 1 and one is input 2. It really doesn't matter which order you select them in. The first thing we have to choose is the fields to merge on. And what that means is the field where the value in that field matches, so that when it's merging, it knows which records match up between the data sets. For these, it's player ID. So I can either look in the list or just type it in, hit enter. I select that for both of them because they both have a player ID. So that will tell it when the player IDs match, it knows that those records apply to the same player. The next option is a little bit unique to TransData, and it's this maintain number of records. And what that means is that on the output, you can tell it, I want exactly the number of records that are in the master data set, or the salary data set, or neither. I'm going to do maintain the number of records in the master data set first, just to show you why that's important and how it works. The output fields is where you can just choose if you want all of the fields in each data set for each record to come out on the output, or select certain ones. We're just going to leave it as default for now to get all of them. The field matching only applies if you want to match on more than one field. So let's say that these two data sets had player ID and birthday. We could match the player ID and the birthday in case there were multiple players with the same player ID, but that's not the case in this data. But if you did that, you could say any to any or in order, and what that means is any to any means any of these that match, it counts as a match, whereas if it is in order, it matches the first option player ID, then it matches the birthday, and so on and so forth. But we can just leave that as default for right now. So click Save, and we run this model. Our master data has 500 records in it. Our salary data has 23,956. So because I maintain the number of records in my master data, I should get 500 on the output, which when we mouse over, we see we did get that. And what I see here is that the first part of this data is all from our master data. I'll maximize it so you can see all of it. So we have things like birth year, death year, birth city, until we get all the way over here, and this column right here, this field, is the very last one in the master data. So after that is from salary data, and you can see very quickly that different players have different amounts of salary data. This first player has a lot of salaries recorded. The second and third player have none, so it's just blank there, and so on and so forth. And this is what we call ragged data, where it doesn't necessarily fit in a rectangular grid as usual. And that's why you see all these darker gray headers here. Every time a record has a different header, different number of fields, it shows that to you. So that's maintaining the number of records in the master data. Now I'm going to show you what happens if we reverse that, maintain the number of records on our salary data. So all I do is change the maintain number of records to salary, save it, run the model. And now we should get the number of records that are in the salary data. And if we mouse over, we see 23,956. But if we look at it, a lot of these, if they don't have any matching master data, there's a lot of blanks here. But if we come down here, this one did match up. And so you see it stuck the master data onto the end of salary data right there. But we don't know if this player ID shows up in the salary data once or 100 times without looking through all 23,000 records. So you can see how choosing which input you maintain the number of records on can be very important for the data you get out and how easy it is to read and use. So if we scroll down, we see there's a lot with nothing, and then every so often we get one with the master data. Now I'm going to show you what happens if we do neither of them. And what this means is only where they match up, it puts them together. And if they don't match up, the records are lost. So we save that, click Run. Our output, we have 749 records. We maximize that. You see the first part here is again that master data. And we come over, and again, because I didn't do maintain number of records, it only put on one salary record when they matched. And so if there are multiple salary records, you get multiple records for the same players. You can see right here, David Allen has a number of records, but we don't know if there were several players before him that didn't have a salary listed and they just got dropped. This is much more like a SQL join. Still very useful, but you have to be aware that data can be lost this way. So you see, this gives you a very nice rectangular data set, but again, the records that don't have salary info are simply dropped, and we get duplicates of players that we then may have to aggregate together later on. So those are the basics of merging and how it is different in TransData. Thank you for your time.